Hello, everybody. Welcome to Vanessa's podcast and my YouTube channel, Supercandle Buddy. Hello, welcome to Darryl Stickel. He's a guest today, and he wrote this book on trust, building trust. He's a leading expert on that. And so thanks for being here today. And you're going to tell us more about how we build trust. But first, I'm going to ask you a few questions. So tell me something unique about yourself so people get to know you a little bit.
Sure. So there's a few things. I'm legally blind. I have a guide dog named Drake. And I was born and raised in Northern Canada. Small community.
Okay. And so tell us a funny story in your lifetime. I'm sure you have hundreds of them. Just something funny that happened to you.
So I travel with my guide dog, Drake, and we were on a plane back from Germany to Canada. And one of the flight attendants came up and asked if she could just say hi to my dog. Yeah. And I said, well, of course, you know, he's not working right now. We're not going anywhere. Feel free. And she stood up and she said, it's okay. So there were a line of 8 flight attendants down the aisle, all wanting to say hi to my guide dog.
Oh, all right. That is funny. All right. So how is your book perceived by others? When was it released? And what do you think people think about that book?
So I've had really good response, particularly from people who are studying trust and leaders who've bought the book and seen it. It came out in June. It was written so that real people could actually read it. And I tried to make it as easy to understand as possible. So far, the response has been really positive.
So it's easy read for any type of readers, all levels. Now, how many pages?
It's about 270 pages.
And many chapters?
10 chapters.
10? Oh, okay. So it's split pretty good in the same amount of chapter. Yeah.
Yeah, and lots of stories and real life examples, and I go through and try to explain not only how trust works, but also how to build it. Try to be very practical and applied.
And I saw that you have a lots of publishing platform where your book is published, biblio.com, ape.com, Amazon, just so many, and I never even heard of.
Right.
You found all this publishing platform, and did it actually help selling the book, or at least getting your book seen?
Well, so I worked with a hybrid publisher called Forefront Books, but they use Simon & Schuster sales distribution models. So they have access to all the different platforms, particularly online. And it's available as a hardcover book, but it's also available as an ebook or as an audiobook. So yeah, I tried to make it as accessible as possible.
All right. So so tell us, since you are the leading expert, so how do we build trust?
So trust is a combination of uncertainty and vulnerability. When people are deciding whether to trust someone, they ask themselves 2 fundamental questions. The first question is, how likely am I to be harmed, which is perceived uncertainty. And the second question is, if I'm harmed, how bad is it going to hurt, which is perceived vulnerability. And those combine to give us a level of perceived risk. So uncertainty times vulnerability equals risk. Each of us has a threshold that we're comfortable with. And so if our perception of the risk goes beyond that threshold, we don't trust. But if it's beneath it, then we do. So building trust actually becomes fairly simple. It's understanding, where does uncertainty come from, and where does vulnerability come from, and how do I take steps to manage those for somebody else?
Okay, so it'll be different for everybody to work towards rebuilding trust, depending your age and your life experience and where you came from. Because,
absolutely.
Yeah, and we all at a different level depending on what had come up to our life. So, when did you decide to write this book? Well,
so I've been asked.
Of it?
Well, so I wrote my doctoral thesis on building trust in hostile environments about 20 years ago. And I've been working with people, helping them better understand. So working with clients and customers and people, helping them understand what trust is and how it works and how to build it and how to get better at building stronger relationships. But I realized that I was only reaching a small number of people. And so a lot of folks had asked me about writing the book and putting it into paper. And so I decided that to try to, my aspiration is to make the world a better place. And I felt like I was dropping grains of sand in the ocean, and I wanted people to be able to come and help me pick up great big rocks and make big splashes. So I decided to do that around the time the pandemic came. You know, I found myself at home more often. And so I just dove into the project and wanted to have more scale, wanted to reach more people. And so that's why I wrote the book.
So if somebody was to read the book, which pages or area of the book do you think they should concentrate on? To actually, what is it going to do to them if they read it? Is that going to help them? Is it like a therapy? Or are they going to, is it going to be difficult to understand? Or?
It should be relatively straightforward. So the first chapter just basically goes through and says, here's how I became someone that you should actually think of as an expert. So here's how I developed my understanding of how trust works. And then the next couple of chapters explain why trust matters and how important it is. But then chapter 5 just goes through the model and says, here's how trust works. And when most people see it or read the book, they go, this makes sense. It feels like common sense. And it just resonates for people. And then chapter 6 is, here's some steps you can take to actually get better at building trust or building stronger relationships. And then chapters 7, 8, and 9 are case studies. So places where I applied the model. One's looking at, I did some work with the Canadian military in Afghanistan, helping them figure out how to build trust with the locals. One is a mutual fund company that I worked with, helping them get better at selling to their clients. And one's work with a huge software company called SAP, work I did with a global organization and looking at the future of organizations. And so just showing examples of how I've done work in the past. What people should walk away with is a clearer understanding of what trust is and some things that they can try to build stronger relationships with the people they care most about.
Okay, so how can somebody get to your book fast? And is there any free copy out there? Any link that they can get to if they don't have the money, maybe, or just wanted to get it now, maybe in libraries?
Well, if folks don't have any money, they can go to my website, trustunlimited.com, and there's a blog section where they can find articles and podcasts like this one, where they can hear me talk about trust and see the writings I've done about trust. If folks want to get the book, they can go to any of those online sites that we talked about and order it. They can also get an ebook right away or an audiobook right away. But there is plenty of free material in the blog section at trustunlimited.com.
Sounds good. And you're the expert. And you have an audiobook. Did you narrate the audiobook or somebody else?
I didn't. I hired someone to do that. I hired a professional. And I can't remember his name, but he did a great job.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. When you create an audiobook, we have 12 audiobooks, and we try to get people to look at them. We have so many free ones, free codes, and they're just so good and just so much fun to create, to hear somebody narrate your story, your message. So much fun.
Yeah. So he did a remarkable job, and I've had a number of people come back and say that it's really well narrated. I was impressed.
So yeah, sometimes it's the way, there's sometimes people don't have time, and sometimes it's the way to hear and learn something. Just listen to it.
Right.
just go and have listen to some chapters, just sample, and just the messages sometimes are clear when you just listen to it. For a lot of us.
Yeah, different people learn different ways, and so and that's, I do workshops and I have a master class that I do online, where I try to find different approaches so that people can learn from different things. So some of it's getting them to practice things, some of it's getting them to watch a role play or listen to a story, or try to apply it to their own lives. It's different approaches that we take to help people learn.
Anyway, we can find all about you on Facebook, website, check out the book, and here you can comment on the YouTube channel, you can comment on the podcast, and if you have any question, reach him, reach me, and it's also on my Facebook profile and on Vanessa's podcast page, and many other places. LinkedIn page, we have this about 16, and any other place. So it's not going to be hard to figure out like what you need and how you can reach him, or if you have any question at all. So thank you for being a guest today, and yeah, I think this book is great. I'm gonna get into it. I'm gonna read some pages and figure out like how it can help me, how I can help others from what I read. And
If I can be helpful in any way, please just reach out.
Is there any other books out there, or this is the main one?
Well, there's a lot of other people talking about trust, but they're not talking about how to build it. That's the frustrating thing for me. So there are other books. There's a friend of mine wrote something called The Thin Book of Trust. There are other books that talk about trust, but they tend not to give you an applied approach to how to actually build it, which is frustrating.
Yeah, it's not the same thing.
Yeah, but if I can be helpful in any way, please reach out. My email is Darryl@trustunlimited.com, and I'm happy to help in any way I can.
Sure, you heard the man. All right, thanks for being here. All right, so see you everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Vanessa.